You get clean as a result of your leg being infected. They wanted to amputate your leg.
Well, they took me in to amputate it.
They took you in to amputate it. You're going through heroin withdrawals, and you do 7 days to get you off, a detox, before they want to amputate it, correct?
They take me in to amputate. They find my family. They said, this guy's completely mentally incompetent, but his tibia bone is exposed, and he's got cellulitis, and we have to amputate his leg. Otherwise, he's going to die. He might still die, but he will definitely die if we don't amputate, and he's not qualified to make that decision, so you have to make a decision for him, which they say, okay. I'm telling you this all secondhand. I wasn't really there.
Yeah.
So they took me into surgery, and then I guess the anesthesiologist said no. He called the surgery. He said, no. His tolerance level to opiates is way too high. I can't put him out. You've got to go detox him for 7 to 10 days, and then we'll amputate. So they trundled me off to detox.
LA County Hospital?
No, this is actually Beverly Hills Medical Center, which doesn't exist anymore, which is in the slums of Beverly Hills.
Yeah.
Beverly Hills nonetheless. But yeah, they had a chemical dependency unit in that hospital. And so I ended up there going through horrible detox. Because remember, I'm detoxing off codeine and methadone and heroin and whatever else. And they're also debriding my leg every day, which is basically scrubbing it with scrub brushes and betadine to try and stimulate growth, and of course they can't give me an anesthetic because I'm in detox, so that was a hell of a punishment. And then after about 8-9 days, back into surgery, and because of all that scrubbing, they noticed some tissue growth. And so they said, okay, well, let's try reconstructive surgery instead of amputating. And that's what they did. And then back into detox, and then back into surgery for a skin graft, and then back into detox, and then back in for a second skin graft, and then detox, and then sober, and then relapsing after 90 days, shooting up right in that same leg again, with every IQ point I now possess.
Were you in the program? Sorry to cut you off. Were you in the program, though, in that 90 days, or did you just say, okay, I've detoxed now? Okay, so you were going to meetings.
Yeah.
You thought you had a little bit of a hold on, and 90 days goes back to shooting up. How long did you go back out for then?
I would go out and come back. I would go out and come back until until the Rolling Stones were coming to town. And I used to go to this men's meeting on Sunday in Culver City. And I remember walking in, and these first 2 rows of these guys, they were so jocular and laughing and buddies, and I felt like such an outsider, and I wanted to be a part of, and I felt like this big fat newcomer, loser, no self-esteem, and then one of them came up to me one day and they said, hey, you work in the music business, right? I said, yeah. And he said, oh, the Stones are coming to town. And you got to understand also, Keith Richards is the patron saint of heroin addicts everywhere. And all dope fiends love the Stones, as far as I could tell. I said, yeah. He says, well, can you get tickets? I'm like, yeah, probably. He goes, can you get me 12 of them? It's like, all right, let me make a call. And their tickets were like $36 each. I said, okay, they're not on sale yet, but give me the $36, and then when they go on sale, I'll get them for you. So he gives me the money. The next day, I must have gotten 15, 20 phone calls. Dude, all these guys from the meeting, we heard you get Stones tickets. Can you get me a pair? Like, yes, I can. Hey, Jeff, I heard you're getting Stones tickets. Can I get 4 tickets? Absolutely. So $2,889 later.
Oh, no.
I'm waiting for the tickets to go on sale. And now I'm in, right? Now I'm like, Jeff, they come to the meeting, and I'm still a people pleaser. I still think I have to buy my way into acceptance, which was absolutely false, but those are one of the many false pretenses under which I was operating. And so I'm really enjoying this, and then I relapse.
With the money?
Well, no. First, I burn through all my money, but I don't tell anybody I've relapsed, because now I'm in, right? I don't want to be a loser. So I'm going to meetings, and I'm sharing, and I'm taking little chips, loaded, and I'm like kind of nodding out, but not really. And I burn through all of my money, and then I burn through all of their money.
Oh.
And now I've got this oil burner habit going. And then this is where I start to realize that all those stupid, hoary cliches that I had heard in recovery were actually true. I thought they were scare tactics. I thought they were all scare tactics, and I thought it was just this line of shit they were giving newcomers. It's okay. We weren't talking.
Jesus.
This is where I started to learn that all these hoary, stupid cliches that I'd heard around the rooms were actually true. I thought they were scare tactics. They certainly sounded like bullshit to me. But once I'm in the grips of this, they told me you start off, you take back up where you left off, and then it goes beyond, and then this, and then this. And then I watched it all start happening to me. I'm like, oh shit, they were right. But too late, right? So now I've burned through all the money, and the guys are starting to like, hey, where's our tickets? Like, concert's like a month away. Dude, where's our tickets? And this is where that spiritual principle of one day at a time comes in, right? So as long as I get them off my back that day, I'm good. And I had to start making up excuses a lot. Because I had taken all these guys' money, right? And so my brilliant solution, was I went to Office Supplies Unlimited on Pico Boulevard, and I bought this big book of blank vouchers. And then I bought a red rubber stamp that said paid. And I went to my brother's law office and I asked to borrow his he had a typewriter. And so I filled out 18 vouchers and just made them look really good, like A66 asterisk 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 9, point 47, Rolling Stones, Guns N' Roses, LA Coliseum, Section 104, seats 1, 2, 3, 4, paid.
Wow.
And I brought those to that Sunday meeting. I said, here you go, guys. Finally, 17 guys, here's your vouchers. And then my sponsor, Joey, I said, Joey, because I know how much you love the Stones, here's a free pair of tickets for you, because I'm a good guy. They're all like, great. I said, just take this voucher, show up at Will Call at the Coliseum, they'll give you your tickets. Problem solved for today.
Yep.
I didn't really think forward, right? And shortly thereafter, I ended up in the hospital again, detoxing. And the guy who ran that chemical dependency unit, John Bocanegra, and John was just standing there in the doorway, I remember him with his arms folded, looking at me, just shaking his head and smiling. And I'm like, what? He's like, haven't you had enough? I'm like, yeah, John, I've had enough. I'm hearing these cute blue pajamas and detox. I get it. He's like, you need to go to Impact. Now, I had heard this word impact since the very first time I had come in the rooms. And Impact was this really scary place in Pasadena. At that time, it was a 9 to 12 month program, not one of these 28-day buff and shines that I was so enamored of with equine therapy and walks on the beach. And Impact had like convicts and people were coming out of prison. It was hardcore like NA. And I had heard stories about Impact. I knew that I had heard these, that they were going to shave your head and that they make you dig your own grave with a spoon and you have to wear signs. None of which is true, by the way. The signs a little bit, but I certainly knew I wasn't going to that place. And I had heard it since day one. And he was like, you need to go to Impact. I'm like, John, I'm not going to Impact. And my sponsor, Joey, came in and he said, Jeff, when you asked me to sponsor you, I asked you if you were willing to go to any lengths for your recovery, and you said you were. I said, I am. He said, and I asked you if you were willing to take direction, and you said you would. I said, I will. He said, okay, go to Impact. I'm like, no. He said, I thought you were willing to go to any lengths. I said, I am willing to go to any lengths, Joey. I'm just not willing to go to Impact. It's not up for discussion. It's not a reality. It's not a possibility. It's not even a distant possibility. Watch. I not going Impact. He's like, let me tell you about Impact. And he just wore me down. And I was like, fine, John, tell me about Impact. He goes, well, it's a 6 to 9 month program. I'm like, yeah, that's likely. Okay. He goes, it's in 4 phases. He said, phase 1, you come in, no visitors, no phone calls, you can't touch money, and you can't touch an appliance. Okay. He goes, and that goes for 60 to 90 days. I said, wait a minute, hold on, back up for a minute. Phase 1, 60 to 90 days. He's like, right. I said, no visitors, no phone calls, you can't touch money, you can't touch an appliance. He's like, right. I said, I'll go. He's like, what? I said, I'll go. He goes, are you just fucking with me? I said, no, John, I get it. I'll go to Impact. And I went to Impact. And I had no desire to stay clean. I had no interest in getting clean. I went for one reason only, which is I knew how scary a place it was. I knew how hardcore they were. And when he told me there was no visitors or no phone calls, I thought, this is where the only place I'm going to be safe from those guys with the vouchers. Because when they find out that those vouchers are bogus, they're going to kill me. And if I'm at impact, I'll be able to survive. And that is the sole reason I went. And I've stayed clean since the day I got there.
What year was that?
It was September 18th, 1989.
Holy shit. Wow.